They tried to bury us. They forgot we were seeds. For centuries, the world wrote Africa's story in pencil. Easy to erase, easy to rewrite. They said we were hungry by nature. They said the black man could not govern himself, could not feed himself, could not stand without their hand on our throat. They said it so many times that some of us started to believe it. But in one small corner of West Africa, a nation of 23 million people just tore that script to pieces and set it on fire. This is the story they don't want you to hear. This is the story we are now telling ourselves, in our own voice, in our own time, with our own fists raised. Welcome to the new Burkina Faso. Chapter 1. The morning that refused to stay silent. If you wake up early enough, before the Harmattan wind picks up, before the roosters get arrogant, the Burkinabe countryside is already moving. Women balance yellow jerrycans on their heads like queens carrying crowns. Children chase goats with sticks older than they are. Old men walk the same footpaths their grandfathers walked. Hoes slung over shoulders that have carried this country since before colonial borders were drawn. You will see pride in every step. You will also see exhaustion. Because for all that beauty, for all that labor, something was deeply, violently wrong. A country whose name literally means land of upright people was importing over 200,000 tons of rice every single year. A country where 80% of the population are farmers was watching foreign tomatoes, foreign onions, foreign chicken flood its markets while local harvests rotted on the ground. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't lack of knowledge. It was a system designed, on purpose, to keep Africa producing raw materials and consuming finished lies. Pesticides meant for cotton drifted onto food crops. Children grew up with constant stomach pain. A farmer in Banfora told the camera with tears he tried to hide. In 2015, the last year we planted GMO cotton, I made 3 million CFA. In 2016, we went back to our traditional seeds. My income fell to 575,000 CFA, 80% gone. But that year my children stopped vomiting blood after meals. That is what development looked like for decades. Governments changed, flags changed, anthems changed, but the story stayed the same. Promises in the capital, silence in the villages, until one man decided the silence had lasted long enough. Chapter 2. The Captain Who Sat on the Ground. September 2022. A 34-year-old army captain walks into power after the second coup in 8 months. The West calls him another junta leader. The people call him Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He could have stayed in Ouagadougou and given speeches. Instead, within weeks he was in the dirt, under mango trees, listening to farmers who had stopped believing any president would ever listen again. One elder in Kaya stood up and said, "You are young." They all came young. They left old and rich. Prove you are different, or leave us alone. Traoré did not answer with words. He answered with silence, the rarest currency in African politics. He let them talk until the sun went down. He let them talk until their voices cracked. And when they were done, he said only 7 words that are now written on village walls across the country. From today we feed ourselves, period. That was the birth of what the government documents call l'offensive agricole. We just call it the return. Chapter 3. Iron for the people. 78 billion CFA francs. That is the number that shook the old order. Not loans from Paris, not grants from Washington with 200 pages of conditions. Money from Burkina's own gold, own manganese, own cotton, own sons and daughters buying shares in their own future. That money bought iron. 400s brand new. Tractors handed directly to cooperatives. Not parked in governors' compounds. 600 more already on ships. From 100 power tillers. Thousands of ox plows for small farmers who prefer the old rhythm. Seeders that plant straight rows in hours instead of bent backs in weeks. Fertilizer bought in bulk and sold at 30% below market price. But the masterstroke was this. Every single agricultural engineer who used to push papers in the capital was reassigned, permanently, to rural sectors. Their new office, under a tree or inside a mud brick farmer cooperative. One engineer in Leo told us, "Before, I visited a village twice a year for photos. Now I live here. If a tractor breaks at 7 p.m., I fix it at 7:05 p.m. That is the difference between a project and a revolution." And the land answered. Yields jumped 35–40% in the very first season. Fields that used to feed a family for 6 months now feed the village for 12. 2 consecutive years of grain surplus, while the entire Sahel was supposed to be starving. Chapter 4. Farming while the world burns. Here is what the news doesn't tell you. Half of Burkina Faso is under daily terrorist threat. Villages emptied. Over 2 million internally displaced. The French were still here until yesterday. The Americans wanted drone bases. Everyone said agriculture would collapse. Instead it exploded. How do you plant when death rides a motorbike? You plant faster. You plant smarter. You plant angry. Mechanization became armor. A job that took 10 men did in 7 days. With hose now takes 1 man and 1 tiller in 4 hours. 4 hours less time in the open. 4 hours less time to become a target. Safer corridors became food fortresses. Risk zones became rapid strike farming. In at dawn, out by noon. Harvest secured by local defense volunteers who are farmers by day. Guardians by night. Under the new AES alliance, Burkina Mali Niger, drones bought with shared resources patrol the sky. When a convoy of jihadists is spotted, the warning goes to WhatsApp groups of village chiefs, not to some distant general. Farmers pull back, militants find empty fields. The crop survives, the people survive. And the displaced? They were not abandoned in camps to rot and radicalize. 100%. Agricultural jobs were created on purpose for them. Clearing new land, digging irrigation canals, guarding silos, running solar dryers, driving the new tractors. Give a young man a weapon and no future, he becomes prey. Give him a tractor and a salary, he becomes a builder. Insecurity did not stop the harvest. The harvest started healing the insecurity. Chapter 5. The tomato that refused to rot. If growing food is Act 1 of sovereignty, processing it is Act 2. For years Burkina grew some of the sweetest tomatoes on earth. Then watched them rot because there was no factory within 200 kilometers willing to buy at a fair price. Enter Bobo Diolaso's new tomato plant. 80% owned by ordinary citizens through a public shareholding scheme. Average investment, 10,000 CFA per person. 20% owned by the state. 0% owned by France. 0% owned by any multinational. Day 1 of operation, 120. Tons of tomatoes processed instead of rotting. Turned into paste that now sits on every Burkinabe table and is starting to be exported to Mali and Niger. Farmers who used to grow 5 hectares, just in case half spoils, now grow 25 hectares because they know every kilo has a buyer. The same model is repeating. Mango drying units in Banfora, rice mills in Banzan, sesame oil presses in the east, potato processing in Kudugu, poultry feed plants running on local maize and soy. The value that used to fly out raw on European plains now lands in Burkinabe pockets. A woman in Sindhu told us, laughing, "Before I sold mangoes for 50 CFA a kilo. Now the factory pays 250 CFA and I own shares in the factory. My mango pays me twice." That is what they are terrified of. Chapter 6. The Ghost Who Never Left. Every elder you meet says the same sentence. This spirit. We have felt it before. 1983-1987. A 33-year-old captain named Thomas Sankara renamed the country Burkina Faso, land of upright people, and in 4 years achieved total food self-sufficiency. He built silos, vaccinated children, planted trees, banned imported second-hand clothes, made farmers the center of the nation. Then on 15th October 1987, they shot him 13 times, in broad daylight, with help everyone knows but no one has been punished for. The dream was buried with him, or so they thought. Today when Captain Traore walks into a village, old women touch his shoulder and whisper, Sankara did not die. He does not copy Sankara, he continues him. Sankara had revolutionary committees. Traore has WhatsApp groups of 10,000 farmers, coordinating seed purchases. Sankara had Cuban doctors. Traore has Russian and Turkish agronomists training locals. Sankara had songs. Traore has TikTok lives from the fields. Same route, different season. The youth who were not even born when Sankara died now tattoo his face on their arms and write on walls. His ideas were not killed. They were waiting for us to grow up. Chapter 7. The message to the rest of Africa. Burkina Faso is not perfect. There is still war in the north. There are still nights when mothers hide children under beds. There are still mistakes, still arguments, still power cuts. But for the first time in most people's living memory, the trajectory is upward, sharply, proudly, defiantly upward. Rice imports are crashing. Wheat imports are next. The currency may change soon. The flag already feels heavier with meaning. And the message traveling on motorcycles, on radio waves, on encrypted chats across the continent is simple. If little Burkina, one of the world's poorest ranked countries, on paper can stand up, feed itself, process its wealth, defend its land and tell France America, and every neo-colonial vampire your time is over, then what is stopping the rest of us? Mali is watching. Niger is watching. Guinea is watching. Senegal is watching. Even Nigeria is watching. The giant is stirring. Closing scene. Night falls. Lanterns in the fields. Thousands of tractors glowing like fireflies. A young girl stands on a sack of millet and speaks straight to camera. They said we would always be hungry. They said we would always need them. Look at my hands. They are holding food I grew. Look at my father's hands. They are holding money he earned. Look at my country. It is looking back at them with eyes wide open. We are no longer asking for a seat at their table. We are building our own table. And there is room for every African who is ready to eat with their own spoon. Sankara once said, "A slave who cannot assume his own revolt does not deserve pity." Today, Burkina Faso assumed the revolt and turned it into bread. The revolution has tractors now. The revolution has factories now. The revolution has surplus now. And the revolution is contagious. So tell the world, or better yet don't. Let them find out when our ships full of finished goods dock in their ports. Let them find out when their supermarkets suddenly miss African raw materials. Let them find out when an entire continent stands up straight and says in one voice, "We feed ourselves now.